have the runaway train of WYLDE, or will they be a little bit mild today? Obviously, as they said yesterday in the game, they had moments where the gas pedal was a little bit less pressed than it was in the opening week. They had some opportunities that they took well, and then things started to filter away from them. Obviously, they were able to convert it into the win, the most important part, and got themselves solidified close to the top, with only 1 point being the distance now. But at the same time, the Wolves have been a little bit fangless up until this point. This is when we need to have that distance and that difference, mainly from them, the attention. How much have they prepped? How much have they learned from WYLDE's opening game?
Now, I was part of the walking gang today. I'm not going to say if it was the fast or the slow group.
You were the slow group.
Okay, well,
you with me,
just outed me there, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I was talking to Redlike, and he's like, I think Teb lied during the interview yesterday. And I know this is some pretty hefty accusations I'm throwing around here.
Throw them.
But Redlike, the observer, thinks that, you know, even though Teb says it doesn't really matter if we win or lose tomorrow because, you know, we've already done so well, we're on 9 points. He's like, I think they're just going to go for the win. Because if you're 3-0 up as the new fresh team in the league, and you have the opportunity to go for 4-0, be the best team out of the entire league so far, you're going to be taking that with both your hands. And WYLDE is a very hungry roster with, you know, players that came back after being gone for a while, and, you know, some coming out from the Na'Vi lineup. They want to show that they are indeed some, if not the best current players in the roster in the league.
Did you mean to do that?
Mean to do what? Knock things over?
No. Did you mean to reference the player you just did in that? I don't think you did.
I don't think
you just
did.
called them a hungry roster.
Oh, yes. No, that's totally intentional.
Hey, look.
For any stats, by the way.
Woo. Cannot get first place.
No.
Nope. Confirmed top 3. Yep.
So,
you break that down for them.
I did just, and this is the bit of visualization that will help.
Visualization?
Visualize.
Is that a word? Because it should be.
Yeah, it is a word.
Visualization.
Yeah, it's like if you visualize something.
And you Asian it.
It's a visualization.
Yeah.
Learning something from someone.
Hey, there's observed by Redlike. Once again, we have an Italian in the game, an Italian behind the scenes as well, watching. Can Wolves improve on performances that we've already seen on this map today? Remember, we've had a cafe and it was a bit of a slaughter, but the French were the ones holding the blade. Here, there's an opportunity to try and have that sharpened on the attack instead of on the defense, and they opted for it. The Bravo with the roll through, the control over the top. There it is. They should be able to get themselves maybe a good handle. There's the mute jammer. First is taken, and suddenly they have a little bit more of a route. There's still a second one that seems to be causing them some issues, though.
Yeah, destroyed now, though. So they're going to be able to open up that wall. Before, very worried about a potential run out to come through. So it was that shot, both of them watching towards that garage. Now there's no one out there, at least not yet. It's definitely wasting a bit of time right there, that open door. So concussions in the great coming through. It's going to be the opening tap taken down from WYLDE. And that means Wolves, they have the opening kill.
Well, that was always the question. It was raised on the desk. How well are Wolves going to operate together? That's been that missing link, that part that hasn't really come out to pasture so far. And there's the first. There's a response. Aces underneath, gets the C4 onto Mowgli and gets the rotate round. Packball watching on a very, very narrow angle. That was right up through the hatch towards the head of Shinka, but they did not quite get the catch they wanted. There's a second one, though, for Aces. Deadshot gone. On the back end, he's retaking the pressure around Zulu. He's going back to where he first C4'd and actually opts away from it, pulls himself further away. He's just causing problems underneath the side itself, because that's something that Wolves have to be cautious of.
There's no need for him to stay there anymore, though, considering the fact that the side is up top. He doesn't have his C4. He already did what he needed to do, so he's fallen back towards the site. It's going to be Packball playing below. He has the opportunity to rotate back out as the two players of Wolves currently inside of the top of red and inside the shop are getting these drones in. Now, the Bravo has actually, for a second there, I thought it was like hacked a drone from the enemies, but couldn't be the case. By the way, dropping through, taking care of some of that utility just to make sure that they can start while rolling through a little bit more securely towards the actual site later on.
Look at the timer there. Less than 30 seconds. Jax is still in the power position here on the back end of White Stairs, waiting for a swing and a rotate. And there's the fight, one out by Shinka. A 3 versus 3. P4. He's on the cigar door. There's still somebody on Lumber, and there's Bibu. Loses his head all the way from the backline end. They tuck themselves back in. One's in the freezer. Aces with his third for the round, and there's Hungry with his second. WYLDE keep the lockdown on the back line and open up with a nice bar.
Very solid first round there. Nothing to be really too worried about as a Wild fan or player. They really had that under lock and key from well, not really the start, considering Wolves got the entry kill, but they quickly, you mentioned it with Aces with that C4, able to retake that control and stop them dead in their tracks. Now they move down towards the reading room and fireplace. And the question that has been posed is, Wolves, who is stepping up for the leadership? Because that seems to be a bit of the issue. They were a very composed team during Six Invitational and everything before. They've made every single quarterfinal for the majors. They've basically been at every single one of them last year. But they've had that massive change of bringing in that new young gunner of Deadshot instead of the old guard Rise, who basically, well, was the team's dad, you can almost say, on the roster.
It's the really sort of specific thing here is you're replacing somebody who...
leadership with fragging potential.
Yeah, and you can't have a more distinct replacement there. And obviously, Wolves didn't always have Rise as the sort of IGL, didn't always have him as the shot caller. You have other voices in that team. You have other historic voices in that team as well. Bibu and P4 have both sort of stepped into that role before. And, you know, it sort of turns into this thing where with Mowgli, they had great success with the Mowgli pickup and with the drive there. And with Deadshot, I guess they're hoping for a little bit more, but they haven't quite found it yet. There's always still the possibility. On the opposite side, you know, there's that sort of same back and forth with Wild. You have some players that are highlighted as being big potential new grunts. Obviously, Tab and Jegs are the two that most fill that role, but Aces, Packbull, Hungry, they've all tread the boards on the big leagues. They've all been
in top teams.
And, I mean, Packbull leading the entry statistic. It's not a statistic I don't think he's ever led before, so...
No, definitely not. So he's really finding his space and, you know, his expertise here in this roster and really letting it shine in this group. Of course, it's still best of ones. There's always that question, like, how will they do in the best of threes against the other teams that are finding success as well? But you cannot deny that Wild right now is a force to be reckoned with. It seems to be feared. Partially as well due to the unknowing factor of them as well. Again, tight angle being created right there to stop anybody from the rappel on that window.
Yeah, looks like they were hoping for the upside down rappel on the back end. Packbull is logged in with that SMG. There is the player on Lumber that is stuck for all intents and purposes. And, well, they still win a fight out of it. Hungry takes care of Mowgli, takes a second as well. And that is control of the woodwork. He's been able to get himself to the window. Does he want to jump out? I don't quite know if he's opting for that or the hatch, but look at the timer. He doesn't need to give away the territory at all. P4 finds the end of it, but they really should have got the beginning there too. And now with Aces rotating his way back up round, he's already on the side of Bar. Shinka wins out one. He doesn't win out the second. With a minute on, they've been able to remove the hard distract.
Both Tab and Aces moving up. Aces will find another kill as well. He's really leaning back into his old habits here. Doesn't win out on this one though. P4 survives. Has the opportunity to pick up the diffuser again, even hack the cameras if they feel like it. So it's going to be a nice little extra considering, if you look at the left side of your screen, only 2 drones left. So those cameras could be a differentiating factor here in terms of information gathering. 35 seconds. Before slowly heading down. There's a player right below his staircase. Packbull will have heard the goo mine to be pulled out. Flashbang gets pulled just so he can actually try and get it out. The rotate already coming through. They do not want to take the fight here.
I was going to say, huge rotate. They know they've got this locked in. They have the option of that side, but they've also got Packbull on the door with a shotgun. Second round in a row here for Wild. They keep things smart. They keep things aggressive. The rotation background, obviously, as I said, Hungry dug in and refusing to give the territory away was fantastic. You know that as soon as on that window, you don't have a route out. You're locked there, and you're hoping you can try and either waste utility, waste time, waste a player, maybe. Wasting 2, the one watching on the window and the one swinging for the fight, it's a bit of that tragedy of Wolves.
A bit of lack of information as well. I mean, no drone to really pinpoint the position. They thought he was going to be closer to the actual wall there rather than stepping in the middle of it. And just that little bit of an off position is enough to get those first couple of shots in and put yourself up in the advantage. Well done by Hungry there. Sadly died shortly afterwards as he was being pushed by the remaining players of Wolves, like they were really making it their mission to get rid of him. Not allowing them to drop back down that hatch. We're headed to Fireplace. We are avoiding the kitchen for now. So the other first floor site comes through. And that means that again we will see a heavy play up around the top floor. Long angles being created. Of course played by the DMR that Hungry brings. Seem to have that success with it as well.
Oh.
What?
Do you know something interesting?
Oh yes,
just happened right now.
Something interesting.
The Thinker Elite's released.
Oh really?
Good to know.
Well that's just didn't expect that to come down now.
Yeah, that's come through. The Thinker Elite.
Very nice.
It's just been posted by the official accounts. Ready for everything with the QCR Exo Prototype NH02. The new Elite skin bundle. Check it out. She lifts a really big rock.
Is that her Elite animation? I'm not surprised actually.
She's ripped and terrifying. Anyway, enough about that. You can check that all out in game. We'll get back to this. And Wild 2-0 up. They're onto their tertiary site. Now, this was the site that they opened up the very first play day with as well. This was the one where the sort of comments came through of they've got a book here. They've got these ideas. They've got some well-rehearsed plans. We've always complimented Wild on their objective play, whether attacking or defending. And that was the sort of start of that. This army just giving some extra protection here over to Hungry. And the trade out happens on the back end. There's one, there's two, and it's another trade out there. Instantly picked apart Teb. He suffers. The swing isn't his to win out. And suddenly all these fights have happened. Nobody's been truly traded in terms of one killing one of themselves, but it's just that thread that tore itself across the entire top floor there with attention paid onto everybody.
Now P4 going on with the clutch drone. Bravo's new gadget, the newest operator we have inside of the roster, is going around seeing if they can hack any of this utility. Now it needs to be electronic like that camera, so actually just failed it, and that means that this drone might be shot right before the cam. No, he just failed. So the camera is still in pockets of the defenders there.
It's very devastating. It just says failure and big letters across the middle of your screen. Really cheers you up at the end of a long day. They've still got themselves tucked in. They're going for the camera from the other side. Success! But it's not long enough. They do remove the cam. It's the way of getting rid of the cam without actually having to throw yourself into what is quite a dangerous firefight here. But 50 seconds, 2 versus 2. They're just trying to piece together the separation of the two players. Aces on one side. Jegs still tucked onto the other. They have eyes onto either of the two bomb sites, but they don't have eyes onto the player. That's the important bit because we've already seen the motions Wild made. And there's the first falling away from them. P4 gets the lockdown. Jax is going to go for the retake onto Zulu. He peppers a pre-fire. He's watched the whole time from a drone. They've slunk their way around in towards the site itself. They're on the opposite end of mining. They're paying some attention towards it. The barricade will just go on the corner. The rotate comes round. Do they have to call the plants going down? Shinka's safe behind that machinery. There's nothing that can truly get to him. They've got to try and swing further and further. He stays tucked and ducked. And the long-range firefight. Oh, it's scrappy and a spray over. They shoot the rotate as a pre-aim. They shoot him in the side and the leg as well. He's entirely stuck behind a single heart. They've moved in close. But Wolves finally find their first round on the third.
Well done on the objective out there, managing to get that diffuser planted. And it was a very aggressive first part of the round, we have to say. Over the top, you mentioned it. It's just everything falling apart for both these teams as they just continue trading onwards. And really are left with 2 minutes on the clock and only 2 players out of sight to try and clutch it out. Wolves, they slowed it back down. They used their drones. They used the information that they had to try and isolate one. Successfully did that. Went in for the plant right afterwards. That's the kind of play we want to see from Wolves. We want to see them work together like that. But preferably, we want to see them work together as a full 5 on that extend for these situations. But a round is a round, so we do not get to complain as of yet. And while they're deciding to go for the rerun, not wanting to go back towards the top floor cocktail, deciding they want to give it another go and see if they can actually take the win here this time.
Wolves, they take it, but you're still looking at a couple of the players not quite able to get into the run, the metal and the meat of the game itself. With those sort of heavy-hitting guns, we talked about that experience, we talked about that history of the game, and when that starts to rear its head, and you've got that as the bit of the split push right now. Cafe is awkward to attack. It was the question of they've opted to attack here first. What do they know? It's got to be, I think, at least an even half to prove that that gambit was worth it. P4 just got spawn peeked by Jegs. Pack Bull is also outside. And they're back in.
He didn't want to show his head too much whilst running around there, so crouched back towards the door. No, there was no direct pressure coming down. And he's all the way back up in the top floor anymore. Nothing really lost there for Packbull. And now Wolves, they've lost P4. They've lost the clutch drones, which means that, you know, all the utility that there is on the defenders that could be hacked in terms of mute jammers, proximity alarms, goo mines, a really serious laser gates, and the bulletproofs not going to be happening now.
They're putting the pressure over the top floor. It's a rainfall attack, as it often is here, where you start at the top and filter and flicker your way down across the floors itself. Obviously, they struggled when they were doing some of these breaks to get rid of the players tucked into the corners on the opposite end, and this time they've got one less body to work with. They're paying keen attention. You can see a player all the way on the opposite side of Cigar, I think that is the only top floor player remaining. Otherwise, they're sort of handing over a lot of the top floor here. Jags, he's swinging for a firefight. Doesn't know he's being watched by a drone. The pings come through. And they're still curious and cautious about a potential another jump out.
Also instantly turned around as soon as he saw some bullets come his way. He's like, no, not going to be dealing with this right now. I'm just going to hold my position just fine right here.
Don't need to, don't want to, not going to.
First, bounces back. And that's injured onto Jags. Well done.
Will he know, though? There's a second fight coming round on the side of Reading. There's pings on the player on the back end. There's the lock-in. There's one more fight that's about to happen, and Hungry's there to make sure they keep that body balance in their favor. A quick response. The width is coming through. Onto the back end, they're getting the rotate round towards the side of pillars just to keep that territory a little bit more dangerous than it was. Bibu still concerned, still eyeing up windows and the possibility of another WYLDE player wildly flinging themselves out to try and find a fight and take a little bit more success of that momentum gain away. But less than a minute, still vertical control in the favor of WYLDE.
Grenade used there to get rid of the mute jammer so they could open up onto the engine room, which is now going to be a vaultable hole. However, there's going to be an opportunity for it to be watched, so it's not really the ideal way to go through. Shinka Deadshot Dust will be trying to rotate around. BB will find a kill onto Hungry, which gives them reading room, and it seems like they want to go for dining for an eventual plank right here, because there is the opportunity to take White Stairs into control, whether they know it or not. There's a lack of angles as well that will basically tell them, like, there's no real focus coming down here just now. The Wolves, again, they're making the decision to rotate back through. It seems like they actually want to go for dining. Deadshot is going to try and stop any verticality from happening.
He's just going to burn the gate, go for the fight. The ping is there, and Teb, he gets one on two different stories, looks for the third here, and what a moment for the young gun. 3 kills, but from the bottom to the top, a hell of a shot there, and a third round for WYLDE.
And thus they win Fireplace. They decided to go for the rerun, making sure that they could win it there before headed back towards Cocktail, which is going to be the side they're headed to now. While doing exactly what they need to, already have those 3 rounds on the board, which we mentioned just before, is probably what Wolves is looking for on that first half if they want to find success against WYLDE here and pick up
2
points.
isn't the worst.
It's not the worst,
but
it's ideal.
When you run it back on a map like this, when you run it back against a team that is that sort of top dog team in the league at the minute, you have to make sure you come with that bite to prove it. Make things awkward for the first half, that you're leading with your awkward first half, you know?
Yeah.
And here, unfortunately, they just haven't quite been able to prove it.
And thus, they have 2 more opportunities to try and find, well, first of all, second round, and then see if they could go for a third. Because for now, WYLDE just running away with this matchup, at least this first half. It's like, there's definitely been some pressure from Wolves. I mean, they have a round on the board, but it's like the rounds that WYLDE won, they had quite a bit of comfort remaining, right, in the end there. And the idea was there from Deadshot to try and challenge the top floor player to stop any verticality, but just delayed, just out of sync by a millisecond, I would almost say.
Well, I think that's it as well. It's, you know, it's that curious thing here about this game is that WYLDE are putting the rounds across the line. They're making sure that they're doing just enough. They're playing them in different ways as well. Obviously, the jump outs, the change there between the 2 different mining holds, and how they're responding to things is quick and aggressive. Look at that, though. Bit of a mistake. Packbull tried to go low. He hoped they were shooting it from underneath, but, you know, you can't argue with the fact that Wolves had a second player prepped on that position. You take risks, and unfortunately, they don't always work out. Here's the pressure now coming onto the back end, and there goes P4, there goes Teb. Again, these fights are just exploding all over the top floor of the map. Mowgli gets his second right through the core of the bar itself. Only a minute has gone. and half of the players pretty much have been removed from the game itself. There is a 2-body advantage currently in the favor of Wolves. They still have a lot of the hold itself. He's baiting a bit of motion there. Hungry is still sat. They are so far away from each other. Obviously, the 2 remaining players. Hungry's doing his best to hold on to the side and the site and the back line as well, but they're inside. They're all over him. Mowgli has a fire in his heart, and a C4 has Deadshot in its lock there. 3 versus 1. The pings onto the next player. They're trying to go shotgun fishing, but all it does is really give the game away on the location. A minute 20. Shinka's going to stick that plant. There's nothing to stop him. No pressure. No swing round. The pre-fires come across. They're going to set a drone up. Not to watch anything, though, other than the end of the round. 3-2. Wolves suddenly strike with a lot of ferocity on that round.
Yeah, it's that first initial pick they had. They realized there was going to be an opening at that moment in time, and it just took it with everything they had. Or like, this is kind of a do or die, guys. Like, we have that first. Why don't we just risk it? Like, we know we have the gun power. We just need to surprise them. And that's exactly what they did. Struck through in the middle of that site to control of important positions of WYLDE, and nothing they could do to stop it. And we head back towards reading. No runner back this time around for the 6th round of this game, and Wolves looking to find their 3rd to make this an even split and to make that side pick of attack really worth it.
3-2. They can still get themselves that even half. They still have an opportunity, and as you said, Wolves, you know, they've still got their defense on this map as well. It's not going to be the easiest thing for WYLDE to attack, but to be fair, WYLDE's attack's been pretty good. They've formulated great play around the objective. We talked about it a lot, as they did last week as well. They mentioned a lot of positives about the team, and what else can you really say about them? They've been consistently sort of driving themselves back in, so they get back into these fights. How are they going to decide to try and end this half? Will there be any early aggression? None currently.
I mean, you don't really want to lean into an aggressive round like that with more aggression yourself, right? For WYLDE, that is.
Well, I mean, C4. There it is.
Sniped out?
Oh, I think so.
I think he got destroyed as well, yeah. I mean, I see AC4 like crossed out on the right top near the impact.
Yeah, so it must have got shot out.
Yeah. So, good shot there from Mowgli, making sure he wasn't going to get blown up early on.
Oh no, Teb! Caught out there. I'm not sure if that was a call. There wasn't a ping on the back of it, but he got the first shots and just held down the trigger. Teb removed early. You're looking at the loss of a very important gadget banned on our previous cafe earlier on in the day because of how powerful it can be, especially towards the floor, the sort of hold on the top floor. Headshot perfectly ricochets the grenade round. Wolves, you sort of wonder where this bite has been on the opening few rounds. They found their fire here towards the end of it, and suddenly WYLDE once again find themselves 2 bodies gone. There's a bit of a deficit. They're able to bite one before they lost the last round. Can Jegs do that distance here on the top floor?
It's a bit of that combination between information but also preparation, because they probably knew the player was going to be out there, heard something on the drone, bounced a grenade around. The same goes for the spray through on that window. Probably in scrims, you try it every single time you're out there to open up that window. Every now and then you catch a kill. This is one of those times. Both of them together really help out. Packbull, no idea how close Mowgli is to the actual site there. Rotates off, gives the opening fully to them. WYLDE's trying to go for some kind of retake all over the map, but not really being given anything. They don't really see how close Wolves is.
I think this is it. They're baiting the idea onto reading, but they're moving the kit closer and closer towards dining. Packbull is the only one that was towards that side. It seems like they're sort of making some of the pressure known. They're opening up the wall. They're saying, here, put your eyes here, draw your attention here. Maybe they can sneak in on the back end. There's still problems for that hold. And look, WYLDE, whether they've guessed the game or not, there's the pressure into Zulu. Hungry. He tucks around, doesn't quite catch the bad end of that grenade. The fight goes round, the pings on the close player. How much do they know? There's the reveal on the goo mine. They've gone straight past him. They've been able to sneak themselves into a power position. Packbull gets the shot through the bars, 20 seconds, and Packbull with a retake, P4. He's picked the kit back up. He's going to see if he can try and find a little nook to get the plant in. Mowgli, he's looking for the engagement. It's not being offered. A rotate round onto the back of Brown. Bibu caught out on the top, and it's a post plant. But Packbull is still doing business on the top floor. Hungry gets one more. Mowgli, all that's left, gets the kill onto the top of Brown. They know he's above, they know he's below. They're trying to get the fight with the shotgun. They're going to go for the quick hop over. It's the prey. It's Mowgli for one more, a 1 versus 1. Packball's done everything to try and pull this round back into Wild's favor, but it's Mowgli that gets them to even half.
Wolves find themselves with a 3-3 score, but it wasn't for Packball's lack of trying. He really put in a number out there, almost securing that round for Wild, and with that, the half. But now we have to swap. It is going to be Wolves over towards the defense and Wild to show off their attacks here. I'll start off on the top floor as well. Cocktail. What can they do here? What will the attacks look like, and how will Wolves fare on the defense? Because we were talking about the fact that there might have been a lack of leadership, and a lack of leadership usually shows on the attack. When you need to be working together as a team, when you need to start pulling things, you know, closely to go for a synchronized push. On the defense, it's more of like individual plays, holding down. Beautiful spray, by the way.
I mean, that was that. Obviously, as we said, whether it was from intel or just the knowledge of them playing that position, hell of a round there from Mowgli. Hell of a round from Packball. Just when it comes down to the 1 versus 1, and you know, and it was a 3 versus 5 for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
And nobody finding each other. The movements there of Wild, the fact that they could sort of slink their way back up to that verticality.
Was it a Mowgli 4K as well? I think it was.
Yeah.
So it's like...
He also got a C4 at the start of it, didn't it?
Yeah, he catched out. He caught the C4.
He does everything.
First second.
Gets your C4.
That would have killed him if he didn't.
Gets the 4K. Gets the 3-3. Even half Wild. And I'm not going to say it's a problem. An even half was an even half at the end of the day, but...
We had a lot of them yesterday. 4
yeah.
of them.
Can they try and lead in with some of that possession that they've been able to keep pretty expertly over the objective. Teb. Quick drones towards the top. Quick attention page. Make sure they don't get C forward. They won't. That's open. No hatch drops.
Yeah, there's no hatch drops right afterwards.
Oh, look at this. Gone 6 just to get that castle open from inside or across the side of the inside, because that gives you the sight line across the back end towards P4's position when you get rid of the next castle. The Azami is that sort of blocker in the middle of the room, but you waste as much time and as much utility playing around Cigar as you can.
Keeps them guessing as well, right? Like, which window am I going to be swung from out here, as Hungary still playing out there. Doesn't really have anything to get rid of the Azami barrier, so would need some help from his teammates, either Aces or Packbull, to really get something done there, but we're occupied elsewhere currently. In a minute and 30 seconds have passed so far. Wolves still holding on tight. P4 not really in a position to help Piano, but he's been locked off from the back of it. He's really just purely focusing onto the top of red. When those drops come through, that's where he will shine. Just quickly swing with the shotgun.
So I'm wondering if the Ash, yeah, they're going to go for that castle on the far end so it can't get stopped or shot out by the player that's currently sitting there. They're going to burn it and then go with the X-Kairos on the back end. Oh, there's the burn. There's the follow-up. You can do the pop on the wall, but Tep gets Mowgli in the meantime. P4 gets out of there before the wall falls. Very important part, but look, 2 minutes have gone. They've only just been able to force the player out of Cigar itself. That was the game that they wanted to play there, and they've been able to play it with only the cost of 1. The player who was, I think, previously just holding onto Pixel Corner. Wild, they've got some control, they've got some rotates, they've got some options here. Now they've still got to try and force the rest of the round itself. And with the kit currently sitting on the roof around the double skylight, where is the play?
Could go really quickly here for the side of Wild. All they need is just that 1 extra pick inside the site. A little bit of a distraction move, and Packbull can actually go in and try and attempt the plant. You do have to be careful, though, for players with shotguns potentially down below, as that shot finds Jags. Is fully aware of the fact there's a player in the window right behind him, but also in the shot bay right above him in the skylight. There's nowhere he can go. He needs to just stay put. He's trying to take these fights. Gets punished for it.
Tab in the meantime, he's able to find P4. Bibu suffered on the back end. Packbull, he's going to see if he can stick the kit. In the meantime, they're swinging in and getting control of support, a post plant. And suddenly the site has fallen over to the side of Wild. Deadshot did everything he can to survive, but in that situation, what else can you do? Now there is only 1 left. Shinka with the UMP. He's been able to find 1 on the back end. He's just seen the side of a second, but the call will come through, and that's, he's aware of the width that they're offering themselves here. Wild isn't to try and swing into the fight, but to sort of say we're here ready to. Wild, they're just able to eke themselves in towards the site after a slow start. It's a good finish. and a 4th round.
Very tight angle coming out there as well to lock that one off, but well done by WYLDE. Able to just continuously push on towards that side, even though they didn't really have that full control, and it wasn't up until like 40 seconds before they finally started to make those moves happen, but found a success. That's what they needed. Reading room, heading down 1 floor. We've seen it 3 times so far. No, actually 2 times so far.
Counting is hard.
Counting is hard.
It's very tricky.
It's very 50-50 at this moment. Once won by the attack, once won by the defense.
Well, every single attack win that we've had in this game so far has come with a plant. It's been
yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
You don't have to fact check that. I just know.
No,
We're in our conversation of fun facts. There's a fun fact for you. An 100% plant success rate on attacks.
And that means that objective play is still important. Like, we might not be in that meta anymore where the objective is all that matters, because, you know, it is way more frag heavy than just objective based nowadays. But it still helps, right? Like, you start working towards the objective, you put down the diffuser, the defenders will have to come to you afterwards. And if you manage to do that in a systematic way, you'll find a lot of success on your side.
One of those risky statistics about this game, though, and probably less of a fun fact, is the sort of balance of who is putting bodies down. Obviously, WYLDE, most of the statistics come from their defense. It's a slightly different matter here, but with only 1 player going negative so far, and yet not having the best KD player in the game, on Mowgli, that is sort of the fight that's kept them in it. Wolves, they need a little bit more just on that back end, just to try and match the sort of even-handed pace that WYLDE have been able to offer this cafe in this moment. The Lion roars out across the sky. They're holding, they're waiting, they're falling from the top of the rafters. There doesn't seem to be a Wolves player that wants to catch to them as of this moment.
Openings, grenades, everything are slowly being tossed into the building here from WYLDE. Second logic bomb goes off. Should often be followed up with at least a bit of a push to come through, and Aces does exactly that. Takes pillars. Is he aware of the fact there's a player right behind it? Well, turns around at the exact moment he was about to be swung by P4, so don't think he is. Swaps over to the DMR. This could be a huge swing, a huge sway. Right onto the ground floor. That's the kill from Aces to come through. Takes him down with just a couple of shots, and now instantly puts some pressure down onto Reading. Burns through the Surya Laser Gate. He's not going to be, well, physically out there right away, but at least it means that the pressure is on. But he has to wait, because the rest of his team is not really in a position to strike yet. They're still working on getting that top 4 under control. There's about 80 seconds of which they have left to try and make this happen and go for that sway. But with Mowgli still being around in the actual back, he's starting to get more aggressive here, going towards the store. He has a free hit. No, it's that shot that takes him down. A bit of a synchronized play, and now the top gets locked off, so they cannot retake.
I mean, that was it. They made sure they had the second player on the push as well. If we lose one, we'll at least still win the fight. But there, caught out underneath, right in pillars, Mowgli. Took an aggressive rotate, didn't really need to. Obviously, we know more than he does, but at this moment in time, it's something that's massively cost them. They've lost that even hand they thought they had before, and now as they watch just down towards the door, he wants to shoot the shot at the exact right time. There's the burn of it, there's the drone that goes through. They're going to get eyes first of all and look towards, not the roof actually, just the player. Tucked in, waiting for the swing to follow up on the back end of that, round to the side of Zulu. The door is still watched. Currently, so might the player be as well. 20 seconds though. Once again, it's another late push here by the guns of WYLDE. They're stacking up. They're trying to communicate. How do we break into this site? They seem like they're still weighing up whether they want to hit Reading or Dining itself. And as the flashes start to come through, they're watching the top. There's the fight. Aces looking for it all the way across. They flooded into Dining. Bibu wins out, but look at that. Suddenly, it's the pack bull kill. It's the plant attempt on the back end. Bibu, he's got to go for a big deep rotate here. They're going to get themselves in a post plant. A great take from Bibu on the back end. He's got to make 2 more, but Teb has the end of it. And once again, with pocketfuls of seconds left, the call comes through and the plant goes down.
It's good from WYLDE that managed to stay calm that long, right? Like, there's 20 seconds on the clock. There's a little bit of panic, but nothing too much. Like, they're just trying to figure out, like, okay, where are we exactly going? Like, where do you need me? And then they're all in position. They strike at the same time. They just take what they need to have. And they managed to get that plan down twice in a row now. And with that, extend their lead to 3-5. Only 2 more rounds are needed for WYLDE to lock themselves off with a full 12 points over the entire first phase of the Europe League. And mean they would be the first team to do so in this new format. They can be very proud of that if that is going to be the case. More importantly, they need a single more round to lock themselves in as the first seed for their group, which means they will have a bye in the second phase of the Europe League. And that is going to be something they will be aiming for. Like that one extra round is all they need, and after that all the pressure is kind of relieved up until some point. Like they still want to go completely flawless and just take every single point available. But at least they would be the uncontested best team in their group. And they've been playing like it as well. Like no one has really been able to put up a proper answer to whatever WOL has been bringing so far. And it just seems like, you know, there's only 20 seconds on the clock. Surely you can stall a bit longer as the defense, but then they just run in and kill you.
Quick play of the grenades, P4. He's making friends, but unfortunately they're not the nice kind. They're the kind with grenades and a drive to get you removed from your cigar shop. Aces bounces the grenade on the opposite end, and that was almost pinch perfect. It was just on the border, I think, of being lethal.
To roll like 2 centimeters further.
Yeah, so he's getting out of there.
Escapes with his life. Meantime, WYLDE opening up into the piano. I said it before, it's normally where your actual staging point is, right? Like you take the top of red, then you start taking piano. That's really all that you can get for free up on that top floor without it being too dangerous to take under your own hands. Now Aces, he's been coming up from the ground floor. He's going to roam around onto that first, see if he can shut down any of these roamers down below, because P4 dropped, just as an example. Now he doesn't have a C4, so he's not that dangerous if he's playing down below. But he's still one of those players that could be coming back up later on wherever he feels fit. And throw up a big spanner in the works that WYLDE is trying to put down. Recharge from the hell. Probably will be activating that soon and starting to
he's waiting.
Slip by that camera. He's waiting for his team.
Keeping himself cautious, keeping himself cemented. Nook can be fantastic on this map itself. And WYLDE, you know, we've talked about the power of their late last second rotate. How's it going to happen with all 10 players still on the board? Maybe the longest that we've had all of them for a while, even with how close P4 came to being removed the lead, and they now have themselves driving towards the site. They swing on to the back end. BB finds Teb in the meantime and stops that swing come through. They still have the player underneath. It's Aces. As you said, the hell is up and running, and so is P4 around onto the back end. Do they know of this rotate? They're going to find out very soon. Looks to the left, sees the first fight. Will he win the second? No. Jags, a quick response, a 3 versus 3, 3 versus 2. Once again, WYLDE, they've been able to pull this back from things starting to fall apart. Bibu, he's going for the rotate round onto back end, suffering and scarpered. But there's no utility really left in the pocket outside of the ones that are passive, then active. They're trying to keep a keen eye. 20 seconds once again. There's a bit of a drop round. The attention towards the bathroom. The players of Wolves, they're slightly separated, but they've got to be to make sure they have the cover across all the potential plant spots. Will this be the first round? The kit doesn't go down, though the attackers can still lock it in. They're going for the drive across the board. Aces with a heck of a take there. He's now going to see if he can stick it on the back end. Bibu, he's waiting for the calls. They know where he is, and WYLDE, they find their 3rd round in a row. They push themselves onto map point. What are they going to do with the diffuser in hand and 20 seconds left? Pengu, really... I know you're co-streaming.
They took it a bit too serious. It's like, okay, guys, we cannot do anything until there's 20 seconds left.
They've watched that video, and they took it to heart.
Now, what actually happened there is I think People was in a really good spot to do something about that round, because he was finding himself with a tight angle towards the cocktail shop door. If he would have been able to swing that or hold that, he would have been able to stop that planter from truly moving through. But they knew where he was, so he chose his own safety. He chose to go prone, make sure he wasn't the first one they would try and fight. But because of that, they got so far in, his teammate died. And they got into a safe spot. He couldn't challenge from his stronghold. And managed to get that diffuser down and basically force him to move. Also with that round, WYLDE is now confirmed into the first seeding of their groups, which means they will be the first team that is going to be filled into the bracket of Phase 2. They will have a bye. That's going to be the advantage of that first seed. And that means Wolves is now fighting for 2nd and 3rd, which is still very possible. But they do need to pick up points here against WYLDE, because if they fail to do so, it is looking very grim for them.
Wild. They are living up to that name right now. They are just running over this group. They obviously only needed the single point, didn't they, to secure themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got that.
They are confirmed.
That's theirs now. They're looking like they want all of the points. Really making that statement here. The return to force. The team brought together for one big mission, one last job.
Get themselves that final round. That's that big last job. Mowgli almost lost his life right there, so he decides to just run by again, because surely you're not going to be firing at you twice, right, if you do. Up for a reinforcement, just to protect that top floor just a little bit more. It's not like it's directly above this side, because it's 2 floors above, but it's just so, you know, if he's playing out there, he's not going to be receiving too much pressure from the other sides of that all the way top floor. Just to make it a little bit more difficult for the attackers out there. There's 2 of them actually out there. Oh, third one on the brown stairs. Just a bit of a jump scare onto that drone there, that shot.
Yeah, they have themselves with the stretch. They have a moment here in Wild. They're running the numbers. They're working out the math, and they're keeping some attention. They're going to try and draw some of the focus down from those loose players. Yeah, you want to get some vertical control here, but if you can try and take a fight whilst it's a bit quieter down on the side itself, maybe go for it. There it is. Aces gets the double. There's Jegs with 1 as well, and Wild struck not only where the hammer was hot, but it was deadly. P4, he's the only one left here. He's got to try and ace out this round, and as the kit goes down one more time, well, it's the fight behind the bottom floor bar. P4, they know where he is. They know what they need to do here, Wild. They know what they've done because, you know, for all the play days that they've pieced together and the games that they've handled, this is just another one that seems to be theirs. A fantastic take. But with 25 seconds, 3 more players, and a long, quiet walk.
He knows he's there, but... Oh, no, the GG's come out. I mean, he was trying to eye up that 1 kill. Like, he was lining himself up for it, and then a grenade just rolls into his top and takes him down. It's Wild either way to take the victory 7-3. It was basically inevitable after that diffuser went down. And they will find themselves at the top of the group. 12 points on the board. Uncontested top dogs of their groups. And they will be going to the playoffs.